welcome to Nightmare365. This is the center of weirdness for the entire planet. There's tons of unsolved mysteries out there. Witches still exist. What about monsters? Do you believe in ghosts? Bigfoot is not out there. Bigfoot is definitely out there. UFOs are real. UFOs might be real. Do you believe in conspiracies? I consider myself a conspiracy theorist. I want to believe in all these case files. Trust no one. The government lies to you. We're just two brothers exploring the unexplained, mysterious, and spookiness that lives among us. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Nightmare365 podcast. I am Matt.
I'm Greg.
I'm Greg.
Yeah, eerie destinations of two, me and you.
What?
Yeah.
What does that even
I
mean?
don't know, man. I like your shirt, though. Erie, Indiana.
Erie, Indiana, bro.
Population of two, me and you.
That's it?
That's
That's all who's in Erie, Indiana?
Yeah, well, this is the studios,
This is true.
Nightmare365.
This is. So welcome to the center of weirdness known as Nightmare365 Radio. We just want to start off by saying visit our website, nightmare365.com, where you can find all of our contact information, our past shows, email, P.O. Box, and P.O. Box. If you send by July 1st, you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to our P.O. Box. We're going to send you something. So
Check that out.
yeah, do that. Do that now. Also, our new shop is live on our website as well. So check that out. We had some purchases. It's been kind of cool, man, seeing that, like, the bell ring and say,
Yeah, man.
oh,
Support
somebody
the
bought a
show.
hoodie. Yeah, so thank you to our buddy Anthony, everything like that. A couple of shout outs too before we get started. Our buddy Andrew, always dropping in and breathing fire.
That's it, man.
I do enjoy that. So he sent us some good topics to talk about. And, you know, recently on the next one, we just did the upcoming question Q&A for Weekday Weird, or it could be a weekly weird. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know.
So we're gonna discuss that too. One of the other things too I want to mention, we had an email from our friend Stacy, one of our listeners, and talked about the past Weekday Weird that we did on the Black-Eyed Kid.
Yep.
You remember that video that we discussed? And if anybody hasn't seen it, check it out at our YouTube channel.
That is a creepy one.
It is. She gave me like the rundown, some information, and she said it was a hoax, which we kind of thought about that, you know, when we were doing the show.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about it beforehand too, and we said, all right, this could be, you know, like you mentioned it, like one of the first things. It was like, this could be, you know, if it's true.
Yeah, if it's true.
So that was one of the things where she mentioned that. She said, you know, with the whole Fantastic Daily, a bunch of other information that she gave us, and just saying that it was really just fake. Which
Well,
is,
yeah,
it's
because,
kind
like,
of a bummer.
if you look at the video, he said it was there for like 3 hours and it was only cut down. Yeah, it was like, so.
Yeah. So that's the thing where we try to do as much research as possible into these topics, and
I hate
you
when
know,
people do that.
what?
Fake stuff.
I mean, it's always going to be out there. It's going to be one of those things that, you know, just says, this is it. You know, where I'm going to make a YouTube channel. I'm going to poke, you know, fun at these conspiracy theorists or these paranormal stories. And it's just going to be one of those things where it's out there, man. So we have to do as much research and our due diligence to these topics and give it as much information as we can. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're really just talking about, these are just our opinions.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know,
our opinion.
as much as we do our own research and everything like that, take it for what it is, but then do your own research. I mean, and we always talk about that. Just do your own research. That's a big thing. The last thing before we get started, I just want to play a clip. Our buddies at Jack-O-Lantern Press, they came out with this awesome book. Hey, you know, if you're watching on YouTube, it keeps zooming into it, which here it is. Here's their promo. So take a listen. And if you're interested in kind of like Goosebumps, like eerie stories, it's a travel guide, Transylvania Traveler, and just listen to them. They'll tell you all about it.
Hi, I'm Michael Picarella.
I'm Tom Picarella.
And I'm Robert Picarella.
Proud supporters of Nightmare365, creators of JackO'LanternPress.com and the Jack-O-Lantern Press podcast, and authors of Transylvania Traveler, a travel guide for monsters, ghosts, vampires, aliens, werewolves, witches, zombies, demons, and mad scientists too.
Our book takes you on a tour of Transylvania's 13 wild and deadly districts, all while celebrating monster movies, monster culture, and Halloween.
Go to jackalanternpress.com to read stories, hear our podcast, and of course, buy the Transylvania Traveler book.
And for any questions or to send us a message, visit our website at jackalanternpress.com. That's jackalanternpress.com.
Yeah, the buddies on the West Coast, the two brothers, and then the two brothers right here in the studio on the East Coast. So it's pretty cool. I have the book. It's here in the studio. Check it out if you're into those kind of stories.
Which
it's
probably
definitely
are,
a good
'cause you're
read.
listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like what we talk about, where we talk about real life events. This is kind of, if you're into that and you want to get lost in that world, it's definitely a good Halloween thing, I would say for sure. So if you're into Halloween, you're definitely into that book. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to them, because they're good guys, and they just came out with their own podcast, and I've been talking to them and saying maybe we should get together on Mischief Night, do a we've been doing like the Halloween live episodes.
Do a mischief night.
Yeah,
episode.
maybe do it like this year instead of just doing the Halloween live, do a strictly kind of a Mischief Night thing. So I think that would be kind of cool. It's something different. If keeping in theme of the Halloween, so we might have them on. That we're talking still, and it's still plenty of time away for that. So, all right, let's stop rambling. Today we're opening up the Eerie Vault for Case File 53. We're talking about H.G. Wells' predictions.
Yeah, the future of I would say the grandfather of sci-fi. Also like predictions.
Yeah, a lot of people get this confused with Orson Welles.
Yeah, the world.
Who
of
did
words.
like the World of the Worlds, and he took it right from the novel of H.G. Wells. But first off, set in the background to H.G. Wells, he was a science fiction pioneer. H.G. Wells was. He's conjured up like futuristic ideas and visions, and then some that have come true.
Yeah.
And then we can pinpoint what we'll talk about today. And then there's plenty that have not come true.
Yet.
Like that's what they say. Not yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like a machine that travels back in time. Do we have that?
I mean, Back to the Future did have that. Doc Brown, Marty McFly, they went back in time.
True. What about, does the government have it today that we just don't know about it? So that was
would
one
be
of the things.
scary if they did.
All right. A man that turns invisible.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that he talked about. And then there was one of the biggest things, which I always listen to every October 30th, for the anniversary, because, the adaptation took place here, Orson Welles, but he predicted that Martian invasion will destroy his hometown of England, southern England. So that was one of the things. He was a man born pretty much 150 years ago, and many of his other predictions about the modern world have been pretty much proven accurate, which is kind of scary to think about. Think about like over 100 years ago now.
Yeah.
And some of the things that he was saying in some of his books too that have come to like fruition, and some of the things that we're using today, like computers, cell phones, emails. He talked about all that stuff. And that's just some of the tip of the iceberg about this guy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about. Back then how like your mind works. He must have been like, a genius to forward think about all this kind of stuff, that to imagine some of these things that he came up with.
Well, it's true. I mean, just think about the time that he was born. He was born in 1866. He was an English writer, right? And he's written tons of books, short stories, novels. And I'm not going to get too much into his life. You could look it up, just the information on him. There's a couple of cool clips that might play like a snippet from an interview where he talks about like the upcoming like doom of World War II.
Yep.
And a lot of people are like, all right, did he predict that? There's some things in there. We can run down the list of what he kind of put forth in his novels. And just from the time that he originally started writing all the way up until his death. And he was I would say like a controversial figure in nowadays, because what he believed in politically.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you look in that, we're not going to go into that, because you could, like I said, look into this gentleman's life, and I think you'll be really fascinated, and read some of the the books or the novels that he published, and a lot of them became movies.
The Invisible Man.
Yeah, the Invisible
World
Man.
of World.
Yeah, the Invisible Man. They redid it. I think there was a
Kevin Bacon, right, or something like that. Was it Kevin Bacon?
I don't
Not too
know if
long ago?
that was different. I don't know if that was like his movie. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. But
Yeah, yeah.
there was a movie in 2017
Yep.
that you could find on Netflix about, the book and like the actual story. Because I think even if the Kevin Bacon one, because I do remember that, even
Yeah.
if that one was, I guess, based off of this, like they took liberties in a lot of stuff that they did. So,
Sure.
I mean, he just has tons of movies, and I want to really go through some of them. And I found this cool article from the Smithsonian Magazine.com. It's called "The Many Futurist Predictions of H.G. Wells That Came True," and we could look at it because a lot of my research brought me into this stuff and said, all right, this was true, this was not true. Like we talked about some of the stuff that we're using right now,
Yeah.
phones, email, and television.
Correct.
And he predicted that, looking at it into some of his novels and work, like in the one that was published in, 1923?
Yeah, the men like gods.
Yeah, where he talked about this futuristic, utopia.
Yeah, wireless communications, people communicated through that. Like if you look to that, we're actually kind of going to that. Even we're getting away from like cell phones. People have like Apple Watches now.
Yeah.
That's just
We talked about that thing that's in Sweden. Really, they're implanting chips into
it's
that.
now on your skin. So, I mean, is that just an adaptation to that? Do people like this? Is also like my question about this guy. Do you think people just like look at this nowadays and just be like, that's actually a pretty good idea. Let's try to create that technology because we have that technology now.
Well, that was the same thing. They talked about one of the Star Wars.
Mhm.
No, not Star. Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Where they said a lot of things that they looked into and said, all right, this is cool. Like this would be something in the future that is going to come true and we're going to have.
Yeah.
And then like they started like, making these products that actually got their start pretty much from people watching Star Trek. I guess you could say that too. Like you mentioned, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
The same thing where they're trying to create these hoverboards and they're trying to create, like the Nike shoes that came out.
Yeah.
Like lace yourself. So
Yeah.
I guess stuff like this.
Or like the self-drying fabric. Now we have that.
Yeah. So this makes, that begs the question too. Like, was this a guy who actually saw the future?
Or just was forward thinking
Yeah.
to see what we might be able to come
Right.
up with.
And he had an idea of what he thought the future was and he just wrote it and it's just now out for the public to see and to just say like, all right, this came true. Like exactly what he said.
Yeah.
But we could look at the same thing. Like there's a lot of stuff that he did talk about or do that did not come true. So it's
Correct.
like, all right, did he really know the future? Did he catch a glimpse of the future? Was he an alien
Yeah. I
that
don't
came
believe
down and
that.
like had visions or something?
No, I think maybe he just got visions, man.
Yeah, like he talked about, here's another thing, genetic engineering. And that was in the Visitors to the Island. And that was in 1896.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So you think about that, like genetic engineering. And if you read like his books and stuff like that, and you look into, all right, he predicted genetic engineering.
Which we're doing now. Like you can go in and you
But-
can change like the chromosomes. Like you can actually like go into like your, when you want to have a baby,
Right.
what color, eyes, hair, all that kind of stuff.
Right. You want to wipe out the disease, cancer, all this
Which
other
why
stuff.
can't they cure baldness?
Why are you so worried about that?
I don't want to go bald.
All right, it might happen.
I'm
Might
just
not.
saying.
It might not.
Why can't they can do everything else? Let's cure that.
I don't know. Maybe you have to go back and talk to Wells himself and say, predict baldness
Yeah.
and get rid of
Yeah,
it.
get rid of baldness.
That's
Let's
something.
let's do all the genetic engineering you can.
Well, like looking at some of these, stories and predictions, it's not like he predicted like everything to the T.
No,
it
he
was
said-
almost like generalizations.
Yeah, because he said what? They're going to use animal organs to replace
right.
like the humans, which
It's very crude, and it has happened.
it has happened. Yes, they do use.
Like look at the Mad Goat Doctor.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a prime example.
A little
That we did.
shameless plug for the Weekday Weird.
That's what we did, right? He was using goat glands to, that's yeah. Just go listen to that one. That one's a pretty creepy thing too. He did like one of the biggest things, and people always talked about him was not just like he talked about direct energy weapons and lasers and stuff like that in his book. That could just be a thing in the book, but he did predict. And
Yeah,
I actually watched a couple of like interviews of him,
Nuclear weapons.
like the atomic bomb, and he's like quoted, and supposedly he's the guy who actually coined the term atomic bomb. And just That was in 1914. And there is an interview that I have with him.
Yeah.
I could play part of the clip, or I could just probably list it, put it in the show notes.
Yeah, put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes, but he actually talks about it. And it's a cool clip. He was on a ship. I don't know what ship it was. He predicts World War II pretty much. And he talks about the atomic bomb. And the video says it's from May of 1934.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about, if you know history and you know some of the stuff that was leading up to it.
You kind of could predict World War II, but
it's definitely
I don't think
coming.
you could predict how it would end or anything like that.
No,
like
it's not like he said it's going to. Well, he said like if the atomic bombs are going to be used, it's going to really devastate everything, and it's going to almost like end to all the wars.
Yeah, which it kind of did.
It did. We still have wars, and people
but not
like
as big.
Yeah, people nowadays keep talking about World War III, things like that. So
if that ever happens, man, we're screwed.
Yeah, but is it something like somebody talking, or is it a gentleman like H.G. Wells saying like, all right, this is going to happen? Is it just because he had so much influence and like foresight into the future of saying like, all right, I could read the tea leaves and this is going to really happen? I don't know. So that was like one of the biggest things, when he talked about in his book, The World Set Free, in 1913.
Yeah.
And he was still talking about that until like right up until World War II, the atomic bomb and everything like that. So that was a huge one. And then obviously there's plenty that we talked about that he really got wrong.
Yeah.
Just like the direction where, I don't know, if you think about this and like the modern utopia in 1905, where he talked about, and this, you can kind of look at parallels to say to this. This I thought was really unique because it was like these people that were living on the surface.
Yes.
And they were kind of like carefree. They didn't really, they weren't very smart. And they were just kind of like just living. And like the warlocks, what were they called? I forget what they were called, but they were underground and they were doing all like the hard work and stuff. And you could almost look at it nowadays, like this is like the middle class working people, like really working our asses off just to build like a utopia for the hires, like 1%ers.
Yeah, I mean, you can also look at it back in time too, like the coal miners were, or miners, or the steel mill and anything like that.
Yeah, but just think about what's going on in the time period too, in like 1900.
Yeah,
right? Like after some of the big wars, even in this country,
mm-hmm.
The Civil War. It just ended, a couple decades before that.
But you're always going to have people that work below you to, to provide for like the top 1%ers.
True. I mean, this was just something that like kind of brought to the attention of just like himself and like what he brought to the table, which was just fascinating to me. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which I didn't really get permission to talk about this, but somebody that we know.
Uh-huh.
And was talking to actually Mom about this and taking her to this. I don't know if I looked into it. Let me try to find it. It's called the you could look it up. It's called the Cauldron and Cupboard.
Okay.
And their website, I'm pulling it up now, is thewitchofpoint.com.
Okay.
And they do readings. I guess it's like a psychic medium or something like that.
Okay.
And supposedly it came true on some of the people that, and we were very close.
Interesting.
Like Aunt Peggy,
yeah,
said, like she said, she believes like what this lady is telling her.
Okay.
She said some pretty unique things that happened recently.
Yeah.
I
get that.
That I don't want to give too much away because I didn't say we were going to use the story, and it was just kind of told to me.
Sure.
And she said like she's been spot on in a lot of things that she told them over the years. And they usually go to this lady once a year.
Okay.
And Mom was like, I think I'm going to go.
Yeah, why not? Let's see what happens.
And then I was like, and then she was like, would you go?
I would like to go now.
And then I was kind of curious. I was like, all right, if she got, the information that she did, from these two people, and they got it pretty much accurate, like it makes me wonder, all right, are these,
Is it just generalized, or is it actually specific to you? I don't know.
I mean,
I often wonder about that because those kind of things.
See, and this is the thing, like, because I believe them, because they told the stories to Mom, and they said, and we've been close to this family since we've been born, and they have no reason to lie, and it was more tragic things that she predicted than anything else. But that's like to say, like, all right, I see a man in your life. all right, that's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I get
You
that.
know, like, oh, or this person's going to come down with this.
Yeah.
But then when they say certain things that are like, all right, this is exactly how it went down,
Yeah.
it makes you think.
It does make you think.
So I do question that. I don't know. Do you believe in like psychics, mediums?
I think so. I believe in a certain degree. Like, you have a lot out there. I'm sure there's some good ones and some bad ones.
Yeah.
Like anything.
This store I actually went into, it's a cool store.
Yeah.
And it's right up my alley. Like in the front is a big witch.
There you
so
go.
I was like, I got to check this out. And went in there because I love witches. But see, that got me thinking too of like doing this topic. It was like kind of right in line with everything as far as like predicting the future. And,
Yeah.
you know, is there people like H.G. Wells that have this ability? Like, do you think there's something in us that has this ability to say,
I don't know. I keep going back to the fact that, like, you know, people are stronger. People can run faster than other people. People are smarter than other people.
right?
So I'm sure you could tap into something that most people don't have. Like,
Almost like
either-
a sixth sense.
yeah, like a
type
sixth
thing.
sense or intuition or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I think there is some people like that.
See, I do.
You just got to weed through the bullshit.
Yeah, I do believe that. I believe that there is people that can use different parts of our brain or maybe given information for some way. I don't know. Like,
I mean, you look at like people that have like a photographic memory, like that's special. Like any of those types of like specialty gifts that some people have and some people don't.
it is fascinating, but it does make me wonder, you know, just of how much bullshit, you know, really gets into it. Because what was that night? We went to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I
and
remember that. Yeah.
I was too, like, you know, in the bag to really remember, like, what
Sure.
the lady was saying. And I think she was more, because it was like a card reading
Yeah,
thing,
it was a card reading.
right?
Yeah.
So it was more general. Like, she was just saying general things. And I'm like, all right, that could be something. Because then I think your mind starts playing tricks on you.
Because then you want it, some things you want to be true, so
Yeah,
maybe
she's-
you gravitate towards that.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you have a red car. It's like, oh shit, yeah, I got a red car. Yeah, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
something stupid like
Sure.
that, and it makes you think, and then the question comes back, and everybody always says the same question because I used to talk to the psychic, and maybe we should have him on again. Real nice guy, and he did say one thing that really, like, you know, made my eyebrows
The
raise
scar?
up a little bit. Yeah, he talked about like a mole, but
Yeah.
he like identified where it was. And like that was the only thing that really like stood out. But is
Yeah.
that like a guess? Is that something that you kind of just throw out?
I don't know. I don't have any moles on my chest or anything like
Yeah,
that.
because he was like, "Oh, on your left side you have a mole like right by this rib," and I was like, "Oh shit, I do." And he's like, "Oh, you're looking at it right now." I'm like, "Yeah," but then like that's an obvious thing. Like you tell somebody like that, and you're
well,
gonna be
yeah,
like,
you're gonna
"Oh,
look at it. Yeah.
yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I you know felt it or something," but like in their conversation, that was the only thing that he really like touched on that I said like, "All right,
That's really real.
yeah." So
You don't know. Maybe.
is that anything? And, you know, like the age old question, you know, which I got too from a lot of friends and even talking to you, like they're like, all right, if you could predict the future, why don't you like, you know, go play the lotto? And a lot of people are like, you know, it doesn't work like that. They could only get signs from certain people. And
Sure.
it's like, it's information. And I don't know how that works.
I have no idea.
Like you would probably be a better person to really understand that because, you know, when you were younger, and Mom used to say that you said you used to talk to, you know, like one of your dead friends.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like you ask them like, oh, hey, what's the lotto tomorrow? Like,
Sure. Yeah. You don't
let me
ask that
know,
kind of thing.
right?
Yeah.
But and I'm sure they're not going to give that information or they don't know.
Yeah. And
You
plus,
know?
like you don't know to ask those questions. You know.
Yeah. So is it something like that, or is it something totally different that, you know, it happens to be just a person that can predict like what? See, that's. I want to know. Like, I want to know what they could see and if they're just like bullshit. Because I remember, like, one of my favorite places on earth is a spy house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, real close to us. And the lady Jane Doherty, and she was a psychic, right? Psychic medium. She used to do a lot of stuff when it was open, when Gertrude was there. But I always found her. I don't know, maybe I was too young and didn't experience her enough. And
Yeah.
as I got older, I didn't know. But I always felt that she was kind of more of a bullshit artist than anything else.
Maybe.
And also, what was that guy's show that was on TV that he
Oh yeah.
that he talked and like he, you know,
Like the audience, like, oh, I see somebody over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, but
anybody over here? Anybody over here?
Right, and I feel like they definitely like staged that audience, and I think there was a lot of stuff that did come out later on that said, they looked into people's backgrounds and stuff, and so it always puts a damper on, like you say, like when we talked about like the Weekday Weird with the Black Eyed Kid, and the Black Eyed Kid, that
You don't know
video
what to believe and what's true and what's
supposedly
not.
it looks like he did a lot of research, and it, looked like he put together some great information, and it turns out to be like a hoax.
Yeah, which is
like,
bullshit. I think that's stupid.
Yeah, when we look at it, the original video was taken down, and then all of a sudden it's just like, all right, what is it now? Like, it's just a cool story. And granted, I love stories, but at the end of the day, it's
you want it to be real.
What can we really say?
You want it to be genuine. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, do you think if you went back and like talked to H.G. Wells and like talk to him and be like, all right, do you really believe like you're predicting the future, or you're just envisioning a future that you want to see?
I think he's envisioning his future that he wants to see.
But then
then he wrote about it too. Like he wrote about like the moon landings, right?
Right.
In 1901, before they, 68 years before they even happened.
Yeah, but I guess just writing about a Martian invasion is just a cool thing, or even like atomic bomb. Like, why would you write that? Like, why would that be in your future?
Well, because he probably thought that how was that like the biggest bomb.
Yeah.
And he just named it the atomic bomb because that's probably, what came to mind. That's how it was going to end. But he also predicted some stuff too, like the moving walkways. We have that.
Yeah.
So I think he envisioned a lot of things and envisioned things that we could see in the future. And maybe he didn't have like he could see it. He just thought these things up.
Could be, yeah. And he was a writer, so you have to think of like anybody writing, even back in the day when I read old writings of like Benjamin Franklin, he talks about like a future that he envisions and things like that. But it does make me question and try to say to myself, like, all right, is there people out there? But then how many people are really just bullshitting you?
I know, but like look at Stephen King, right?
Right.
Big, writes a lot of books. How like does his mind work that he can come up with these outlandish books and ideas?
He was on drugs.
I know, but I'm just saying, so like just think about how like a writer's mind works.
Yeah.
So you think about H.G. Wells, who the grandfather of sci-fi is. So when you delve into those topics, of course.
Yeah, how come like nobody really talks about him or gives him enough credit?
I don't know.
For some of the work that he's, put out or like regurgitate. You know how there's always these reboots?
Yep.
Granted, I guess we had reboots with War of the Worlds, with Tom Cruise, and there's been a couple other things. Like The Invisible Man was kind of made in the adaptation, but even like The Time Machine, that was a cool movie because I remember watching that when I was younger. Dad playing that for us. So it makes me think like, I don't know, like why can't they like bring back some of his stuff? Like, because his really was a good look of like what is going on right now.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it's not mainstream. That's I don't know that we always talk about that. Why certain things blow up and why certain things don't.
Right.
Like now they use the word viral. Why certain things go viral and other things don't.
Yeah,
and I'm very curious to know why certain things do, and others. The others could be the exact same thing, but they don't.
Yeah, I guess the main thing that I always when I research, because you always send me stuff like like, oh, this person like has techniques, like this is what they talk about, whether it's another podcast or just a YouTube channel, and they talk about like, all right, this is how you get followers, and then you look at how many followers they have, and it's like, all right, you don't have that many.
Sure.
So like, how do you know like the trick? But then like we talked about, there's like this person that just puts out pretty much the same type of videos.
Yeah.
And they're not spectacular in any ways,
but they have
and you don't see the person, and they have like 2 million subscribers.
No idea.
And yeah, is it just these certain influencers that when they get a hold of it, they kind of pass that along?
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe nowadays.
That was like the when I looked at the backstory of the Old Town Road.
Yes.
Like that's how it got started.
Correct.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah, like he made it like.
Well, like the gentleman made the beat. Like there was
Correct.
a guy that made,
and he bought it for $30, I think.
Yeah, because you could. And there's a lot of people that do that, right? Like
Correct.
I have the the technology and stuff right in front of us if I really wanted to do that.
Yep.
And he took like, I think it was an old 9 Inch Nails song, like the undertone of that song, put that together with a couple other things, and then like mashed it up. And this kid that was recording pretty much in his closet in his bathroom, heard the beat and was like, yeah, I could, put a song to it. And then it like blew up.
Yeah, I remember like when it very, very first, like the very first time I heard that song, I was like, oh, shit, that's a really cool song. And like 2 weeks later, it was everywhere.
Yeah. It's just that one thing, right? Like this person puts together like the beat. It's not like the beat all of a sudden like blew up.
No.
And like became viral. Like it had to take like this extra step. And then all of a sudden like this, yeah, it does fascinate me why certain things. And like we talked about it too. We talked about plenty of the things like why does Loch Ness always get like the play, but you don't hear Champ too much?
No, yeah.
Why do you always hear about like the certain Bigfoot stories, but not other ones?
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. Like you always hear about the same UFO stories, and there's tons of other ones that are probably so much better, but you always hear about those. Those are just on like the mainstream TV. And I think TV and media has a lot to do with it.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that TV and media play what they want you to see, not necessarily all this kind of facts and all this stuff. So I mean that definitely plays a role in it. I mean back then though, like when he was big, there was no national media or news, like so he probably really didn't get out as much. And then now,
Or
like
H.G. Wells?
Yeah, and now with like technology.
Well, yeah, it's just different back then.
Now with technology, like I don't think many people care about like some of the stuff that he predicted that already came true.
Right.
Like now all you hear is like, oh, the Simpsons predicted all this stuff that came true.
Yeah, but then
instead of him.
Right.
So like why is one bigger than the other?
Well, the Simpsons still like relevant. They're still making,
Correct.
shows. But then again, like if you look at that, that's a great, I think point, because if you look at H.G. Wells, right, he's a writer. So they're trying to think of like ways to look to the future, but also incorporate the present. Same thing with like the Simpsons. You can kind of say the same thing. They're looking to the future.
Correct.
And just kind of picking and choosing. Like we could probably go over the past, 30-something years that the Simpsons has been on, since we were young and we were born. Like it's been on television. And then look at that and say like, well, they said this, but they didn't get it right. Like, oh, they predicted this and they actually got that one right. So there's probably like one out of like
but you can do
30
that with,
episodes.
You could do that with like any TV show. Like look at like the Jetsons, right?
Right.
They had like all those talking things and
I want to know what's underneath.
What?
The Jetsons.
Oh, the house.
Like it's on these big stilts. What's down below?
Hey man.
Like is that some type of like we talked about like Disney doing sadistic stuff and like creepy things? Like is that kind of if we live in now think about this, if we live in the Jetsons world, right,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're living on these two stilts and you're up above and you're flying around flying cars and you're zipped away, but underneath is like the world that we live in now. It's just like destroyed. It's like mangled from atomic bombs.
It could be. What was that
like,
Tom Cruise movie? Oblivion?
Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Where that's exactly like kind of the premise. Maybe somebody saw the Jetsons and said like, I'm going to make this movie. And it's going to be the same thing where like down below is just like this desolate desert because humans
or even
just
Waterworld.
fucked it up. Yeah. Like think about that.
That was a pretty cool movie.
You like that movie?
Yeah, Waterworld. Yeah, why not?
It was all right. I like Kevin Costner.
I think Kevin Costner was a good. That was 1990s.
Yeah, our buddy Andrew told us about Mr. Brooks.
That was also a great movie. That
was a really great movie with Kevin Costner.
That movie, it's freaky to think about because
Why?
I'm sure there's people like that out there.
Yeah, I wonder how many people have seen Mr. Brooks because that's really good, but that didn't get a lot of play.
No, that didn't get a lot of reviews and get a lot of play either. Certain movies are like that, I think, that are really good and don't get a lot of play, and then other movies that I think are not that good get so much more.
I really want to go watch Mr. Brooks again because that was really good.
Like his daughter at the end. I'm surprised they didn't make a second one.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't. It was because maybe it probably just comes down to money.
Yeah, and ratings and
when
money.
you think about it.
Probably didn't make enough.
Yeah, but that was a good movie, man. And they're probably I always think about that movie when I'm like driving.
Why?
Because you remember when they were like picking out like, oh, let's get this person.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I'm driving. What if I'm driving next to that person that was just like, all right, let's get this looks like a good target. And then like do research because nowadays you could find all that kind of stuff online, right?
Wrong place, wrong time, I guess.
Yeah. So think about that. Like that, I do think about that when I'm driving. That sometimes it creeps me out. Like, all right, does this person is a little nuts? Did they pull a Mr. Brooks on me?
Hey, maybe.
Or are they going to be doing something else? I don't know. Like, so you don't think people could really predict the future?
Yes and no. I think people have ideas of what they think the future could be.
Yeah.
And they put all this stuff out there because obviously he didn't get everything right. A lot of his predictions didn't come true, but some of them did. So, I mean, you would think that...
You just think he was like a futuristic kind of guy, forward-thinking.
Yeah, forward-thinking because you're writing, you're thinking about all this kind of stuff. And, some stuff is bound to happen. Some stuff is bound to be true.
No, it's true. And if you're writing enough books, and he wrote plenty of books, and he was still very active up until the day he died in the 40s.
Yeah, 1946, yeah.
And it does make you think, like, are there people out there that are now that we don't even know about that kind of
predicting the future, can see the future, or like thinking about the future?
Yeah, well, there's this one thing I saw a post, which I started looking up and then I stopped. And I think I sent it to you about it. They said a person was going to be born on a certain date, and he was going to be like the president in the future. And I was like, holy shit, like I want to look that person up. And then like the end of the post was saying like, all right, this person was born on this date. And then now we just have to wait till, what was it, like 2050 something, 2058 or something, like when
who knows,
he becomes president. So it makes me wonder, like, all right, are people out there that can predict the future and do this and have this ability? Like,
or do you think that there's a time traveler that comes back and tells these people these things?
See, that's another thing. Like, you go
or
down.
You dream.
It could be in another dimension, right? Where we're going into our dream state, which really is a doorway into another dimension. And then we open up these dimensions and get visions and thoughts. And it's really just in the future, or, going the past. How many times do you dream about something in the past? Or how many times have you dreamt about something and then you pass it and be like, I saw that building in a dream.
Yeah, 100% happens all the time.
So could that be like a doorway into the future? Like, is that another thing, dimensions?
Usually I dream about the last thing I think about at night.
Really?
Yeah, or like stuff that happens during the day, or it's on my mind.
Yeah, but then how do I have dreams sometimes where there's people I haven't seen since like middle school, and they're like in my dream, and I'm like, dude, I haven't heard that name or saw that person in a long time.
Something probably triggers it. Maybe like a thing you used to do that with that person, and you did that day, or that triggered that memory that day.
Yeah, but what if
you saw that?
What if it was somebody that you never even like really hung out with, talked to, and then you just had that vision, and you're like, what the?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Is that like you're opening this doorway in this dream state? Then we get information. Like, is that why certain people have this, feeling or understanding of like what the future or the past is really about?
Maybe because they tap into that so much longer.
Yeah, or it could be just another function in the brain that we all have, but certain people can tap into that.
I think that's probably true.
Or are these people just seeing ghosts that give them information?
I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No, I think people are just using their brain that most people don't even think about or know about. That's true.
And they just kind of open it up, and like there's just really people that can do it and then people that can't.
Correct.
Like I remember talking about to the psychic, and he was telling me, at a very young age, he kind of felt different. And he said, he would get these visions and sometimes feelings, and then people would talk to him, and he'd be like, I don't know why, like, you're talking to me.
Sure.
So do you think, like, it may have all started when we were very young? Like, you had that kind of similar experience.
And some people just, like, latched onto that more.
Yeah, and you
explored that more.
What if you held on to that now, and then there were still people that would come to you and say, like, oh, hey, like, here's some information. Like, tell this person, like, don't get in this car on such and such date.
That would suck.
Yeah, like, if you came back, right? So say if that did happen. Like, imagine you came up to, like, us and we're just hanging out, and you're like, all right, dude, you can't go here on such and such a date. And I was like, dude, you're just full of it. He's like, no, you're like, dude, don't go to work on this date because something bad's going to happen.
I don't know. I think 9 times out of 10, most people will go because they're back out. That's what I always do. That's,
Yeah. Or it could be like another thing, where they say, like, don't do it. Like, oh, your future is to kill. Like, this is old Greek mythology. Like, you're destined to kill your father
Sure.
you know, and then, you know, the person says, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave the village and I'm going to leave my family and my father here. And then on the road, he really killed his real biological dad.
Yeah.
And he left, you know, like there's old stories like that. So is it something, I mean, there's so many different avenues that you could run down and just look at predictions. And H.G. Wells is just one person in this whole cog of predicting the future.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he just had like an ability to forward think. I think that was it.
That's really it?
Yeah,
You don't think it's anything more?
It could be. But
I think he was just a really smart dude.
yeah,
and like ahead of his time.
He was just smart, ahead of his time, and a forward-thinking guy who wrote down all of his thoughts and kind of stuff, and some of it came true.
True. Yeah. I mean, it really is food for thought. I don't know. But yeah, it just makes me wonder, man. It makes me wonder, and I would really love to go to the cauldron and the cupboard and really just see if like it's true, because you can tell that, you know, the person, from what I was told.
Yeah.
You could say like, I don't want to know anything like horrible, you know. So if like there is bad information,
I would like to know, man.
yeah, but what if she told you like some stuff that said like, all right, you're gonna die in like 3 days?
All right, let's have at it, man.
Ah.
Live those last 3 days. I'd rather know than not know.
I guess. But then what if? Yeah, I would always try to think about like
And then
what
you'd
they would
probably
say.
Probably make different decisions in those 3 days. But then those different decisions that they lead up to you
True.
getting killed, because you went to that person. If you didn't go to that person, would you have made those decisions, or would you have not gotten killed?
Well then,
So that's what you got to think of.
well then, you always have to think about, all right, do you believe in destiny? Do you believe in fate?
Yes, I do.
You know, and then all of a sudden, like it's already leading you to this point.
And then
So
there's
it doesn't
nothing
matter
you can
what
do.
you do.
Yep,
Like,
I agree.
Even if I went to this person or not, I'm still gonna be in that, you know, like intersection at that time, no matter what.
Yep.
No matter how much I
believe
do.
in that.
No matter what intersection that could be, you know, and you have to make a choice: straight, left, right, turn around, go backwards, you know, maybe shoot diagonal across the field and just say, fuck it, I'm not going on any of these roads. Yeah, this one, it did open up a lot of doors for me, just thinking about H.G. Wells and some of the predictions and some of what people talk about into that. And I'd be curious, like if Mom was like, dude, I really want to go to this place.
Where's this place?
It's down in Point.
Okay.
So, I mean, if she really wanted to go, I'd be like, all right, I think I might, you know, check this out and then see what she said. But if she said some stuff that like, all right.
It's like vague.
Yeah, I kind of get, I don't know, maybe.
You just want specific stuff.
I mean, I understand that life isn't, you know, it's not black and white. You can't just say it's like, all right, it's 1 and 2. You know, there's always going to be like a third possibility or even something else into the mix.
Yep.
And like with us, it's all uncertainty, you know, so you never know. I don't know. I guess it's just really more food for thought in anything, you know, that we could talk about. I don't know if I should link that store. That store is, you know, in Jersey. If anybody's in Jersey, just look up the cauldron and the cupboard, you know, the witches of point.com. They could look that up too. But I don't know, man. It's just another mystery to really, you know, think about for this episode. But thanks for listening to this week's Case File 53 into predicting the future, stuff like that. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Leave it in the comments below. Send us an email. You know, give us a ring on our phone number, which is 732-660-8893. And all of our information can be found at Nightmare365.com from our past shows, upcoming shows that we're working on, and also our new shop. If you want to support us, that's the best way to do it. Go to our shop, buy a t-shirt, sticker, hoodie, and then share with us on our social media. And you have till July 1st, don't forget, to send us a self-addressed stamped envelope. Can never get that out of my mouth. But send that to our P.O. box, and we're going to send you a sticker and maybe something else in the mail if you do that. So make sure to do that. And then subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, because that's the best way to help us besides our shop, to help this podcast keep going forward. And you can watch all the Weekday Weirds, all of our podcasts, and then also the Eerie Destination that's going to drop at the end of the month. So check that out. So make sure you do that. And if you have any stories for us, anything like that, share with us on our social media, contact us, and you know where to find our contact information. And until next time, stay spooky, and I'm going to leave you with our friends from Jack-O-Lantern Press. So until next time,
Stay spooky.